Guys, so today we're gonna talk about some interesting topic that I know all of you have heard of it, all of you know about it. It's about the unfair treatment of Black Americans or Black Africans in the United States prisons. And of course, this is something that everyone knows it's been there. This story has been inspired by Todd Chrisley, who has outrightly spoken about the unfair treatment of Black Americans in prison and how they are being denied resources and also access to facilities. It just highlights how there is sort of like racial bias. Just before dissecting this topic, I want you to take a listen.
Y'all heard what Todd said about black folks after being pardoned by Trump? Listen.
This was a long shot because so many people are told no. And being in the prison system, anyone that says that it's a fair shake, it's not. Because I dealt with young African American males in the prison that I was in that were not treated the same. They were denied programming. They were denied access to certain things. I was not denied that, but we know why I wasn't denied that. And so I think that that is a much bigger picture that we all as a society as a whole need to look at, that we are one. And whether you're Republican, Democrat, or whatever, at the end of the day, when you're in that hospital, you don't care if it's a Democrat treating you or a Republican. Now, some of you may, but I want whoever's going to be the best.
This does not warrant an invite to the cookout. Because like my granny and them always said, you're not finna get rewarded for doing some shit you supposed to do. He supposed to acknowledge the inequalities in the system. Think about it. How many folks look like us you think locked up for the same exact thing he was, but they waiting on commissary and a release date? We only represent about 14% of the general population. Our community represents 38% of the federal prison population. They both got pardoned, and I hope that when they rubbing shoulders with them Trump supporters, they're able to keep in mind that no matter how much them folks engaged in color blindness, they seen the racial inequality for themselves. But maggots always love to ask, can you name anything that I can do as a white person that you can't do as a black person? Shit, ask Todd. I'm going to start saying that from now on. Education is elevation.
That right there actually just speaks volume. It just highlights how, don't get me wrong, like pardonings by the president has been done like for a long period of time, and all the races have received some sort of pardon. But who is benefiting from these pardons alone? What proportion of the Black Americans that are being convicted of the same crimes are being released as compared to, it's something that over the years has been really biased. And I'm just gonna read this piece. Trump's pardons have also been controversial, with critics arguing that they serve political interests rather than addressing systemic injustices. While Trump has pardoned some black individuals, his broader approach to criminal justice reform has been questioned, especially in light of pardons granted to police officers convicted of killing black men.
The prison system is 100% not focused on rehabilitating inmates in any way, shape, or form. I know this because I was a corrections officer in an all-male max security prison for 3 years. The environment was not only not safe for inmates, but it also was not safe for officers. For example, on Christmas Day I was working overtime. I was about to go home and I heard a signal over the radio, which means there's a fight or somebody's getting assaulted, and it means you need to get there now. When I got to the block, I heard over the radio, shut the block down, which means lock all the inmates down in their cells. I walked to the end of the range and there were 2 officers down, bleeding. I didn't know if they were alive or if they were unalived. An inmate brutally attacked these officers. There's only 2 officers in a block to hundreds of inmates. Because the cameras were down, nobody was able to oversee what was going on. Thank God a supervisor walked in and saw what was happening. He was able to intervene in the situation and signals were able to be called. The prison I worked at covered up the fact that the cameras were down and also did not inform us that the cameras were down. That's a huge part of the security, and that puts our lives at risk. The fact that the prison allowed the inmates to be out at all with the cameras down is absolutely despicable. Something needs to change.
Now, in order to dissect this situation as a whole, we need to understand this. Are prisons entirely made to be correctional facilities, or are they meant to punish individuals who have committed crimes in the society? What are we focusing on? Is it punishing or is it correcting these individuals? While for me, I would say it's more of like the two things can be used concurrently, can be used separately. Hear me out. Like for instance, one that has been convicted and been in prison for a lifetime sentence, then that is sort of punishment. I mean, there isn't so much focus on being corrected in like It's not like it's not the major focus for them. Like, yes, they can be corrected, but it's more like punishment because you're not getting out more or less, especially those who have been convicted and been in prison for life without parole. That is extremely difficult. Now, another section of prisoners who have been imprisoned and then after, let's say, 5 years to 7 years, they're out. The correctional facility should focus now on correcting their behaviors. If they are being released out there, chances of repeating the same mistake is very high. They're gonna do the same thing and just go back to prison. Well, the racial disparities in the US prison system are stark and well documented. The black Americans are incarcerated at a roughly 5 times higher rate than white Americans, and every state in the United States imprisons black individuals at a rate at least double that of white individuals, with some states even having wider gaps. Now, several factors contribute to these disparities, which include sentencing differences, we've got political practices, we've got economic inequality, and historical systemic bias, which we are going to highlight in this video today. Policies like the war on drugs disproportionately targets black communities, leading to mass incarceration. We've seen so many people who are not guilty of some crimes, especially drugs. Some people being incarcerated because of racial stereotypes. Yeah, because you're black, they assume automatically that you're dealing in drugs.
Yeah, so I fuck with Ty Chris. He kept it straight real after he got released. He said that African Americans are not treated equally in prisons, which we already knew that. He said that certain programs, African American men were being denied, and he didn't have the same issue. I respect him for being a white man that spoke out on the truth about racial inequality in everything, really. But I'm glad that he got up and spoke out using his platform for what it should be for, equality.
Did Trump just say that about African people?
They came in from Africa. They came from the Congo. The prisons in the Congo in Africa, these are rough people.
Yeah, he did.
The prisons from the Congo are empty. You know where they are? They're in this country.
Let's talk about it. At a recent press conference, Trump claimed that prisons in the Congo are being emptied out and that these so-called rough black people are now pouring into the U.S. because of Biden's border policies. First of all, let's be clear. There is zero evidence that the Democratic Republic of Congo is emptying its prisons. None. Fact checkers from the Washington Post and the Marshall Project have already debunked this, but Trump's never needed facts when it comes to fear-mongering about immigrants. He said, and I quote, "These people are rough people, as if African immigrants aren't real people with real stories, just like anyone else seeking safety or opportunity. These kinds of racist tropes aren't new. Trump used the same playbook against Latinos in 2016, calling them rapists and criminals. So let's be clear. Let's call this what it is: xenophobic racism dressed up as dangerously divisive political rhetoric. It's designed to scare white people in his base, to divide us as a country, and to paint black and brown immigrants as threats rather than human beings. After all, he didn't classify the Afrikaners in such a way. Don't fall for the lie. Fact check. Stay informed, and remember, when they talk about rough people, they're talking about black people. Peace, y'all.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get off social media right now, because if y'all motherfuckers can't see that Trump is pandering to y'all by let me get in a light by saying that he is commuting Larry Hoover's sentence. Please hold. President Trump commutes sentence of Chicago gang founder Larry Hoover, which his first term he was asked to commute Larry Hoover's, but he didn't. Ask yourself why. Because he didn't commute all these white folks or whatever. Now he gonna give y'all this. Because why is he giving you this? Pay the attention. Very clear. He still gotta go serve his sentence in the state jail for the charges of the unaliving of people. You'd rather be in federal prison. It's more comfortable than the state prison. He's not doing anything but making it worse for this man that's damn near 80 years old. Stop letting this man play in y'all face. He ain't do nothing but make shit worse for him. I bet you he more comfortable where he at right now in federal prison than he ever going to be in state prison. Guaranteed. Federal prison is about 1,000 times better. Ask anybody that been to federal and state. They'd rather go to federal. Sick of y'all.
For me, I thought prison is prison. I didn't know that some people prefer certain prisons, but I've had so many bad stories about federal prisons, or just something to do with federal whatever, federal courts, federal judges. So many people are so afraid of that, and I really do think that maybe, just maybe, it's not a good thing. I just wanted to highlight some of the things that Todd Chrisley spoke in the podcast. For instance, he acknowledges that his race played a big role in the preferential treatment he received, saying that we know why I wasn't denied that. Yeah, the parole. Chrisley also pointed out that black inmates faced harsher disciplinary actions which they were subjected to more frequent searches and had limited access to educational programs and job trainings. That's what I'm saying. What is the point of having a correctional facility if people are being denied access, if people are not accessing these things that are supposed to make them better when they get out of prison? His remarks have sparked discussion about systemic racial bias in the US prison system and calls for a reform. There needs to be a massive reform in the prison system.
Unpopular opinion, because I know y'all love Todd Chrisley and his roommate, but I got something to say. Not too much on me. Stay focused. Let's be honest. The only reason Todd and his roommate got pardoned is because Trump found somebody that had something in common with him. Both of them are convicted felons for tax fraud. Yeah, and I'm going to go there because it doesn't hurt the fact that he's rich, white, and famous either. And Todd Chrisley, I'm letting your sassy ass know now. Do not get on this TV show because we know you're going to get your TV show back because you're hot and popping. Don't get on this TV show being arrogant and pompous or playing the victim and acting like you're innocent. We all know you were guilty of the charges. So stop. Just get on there and do what you've been doing. Entertain us and make us laugh. That's it. That's all. Thank you.
Well, it looks like the jig is up. Trump has been exposed, finally. I'm very disappointed because I never believed that it was true. But he's a racist. Why? Because he pardoned Todd and Julie Chrisley. See, the media says that the reason he pardoned them is because, number one, they're white. Number two, they're famous. And number three, their daughter is a big fan of theirs and gave a lot of money to the Trump campaign. Now, don't blame me. I'm just telling you what the media said. However, it's bullshit. See, he not only pardoned Todd and Julie Chrisley, he pardoned notorious Chicago gangster Larry Hoover, who's been in jail for about 50 years or more. He also pardoned rapper NBA Youngboy, who happens to be black. So, he pardoned Todd and Julie. They're white. He pardoned Larry and NBA. They're black. Don't seem too racist to me. But it's typical. If you listen to the media, that's surely what you will believe. However, the main reason he pardoned any of them is because of Alice Marie Johnson, the black woman, by the way, who he pardoned in his first term because she had been wrongly convicted and had served quite a bit of time in jail. Alice has been looking at the cases, and she's looked at a lot of cases. And what Trump is doing is he's tasked Alice to look at the cases and look at people who have been overcharged and who is spending way too much time in jail for the crimes that they have committed. Welcome home, Todd and Julie and NBA. I don't think NBA was in jail anyway, though. But as for Larry, I don't think Larry will be going free because Larry still has a 200-year sentence in Illinois. And it's a state charge, and it's probably not going to go away. So yes, Larry will be moved probably from federal prison to state prison, and he'll probably spend the rest of his life in jail. However, Trump pardoned him federally. Boy, when you listen to the news, you just never know what lies you're going to get from day after day after day. It just never ceases to amaze me. But, hey.
Such an interesting take and such an honorable opinion from this lady, and that's how you have to listen to the two sides of the coin. And my focus in this video was about the importance or the need for correctional facilities, which is to change behaviors of criminals rather than just punishing some set of people. Now, it's also true that some section of people are most notorious for doing some sort of crimes which we can't deny. I'm afraid to mention, but you know what I'm talking about. That is what makes now people stereotype this sort of population, this sort of race. It now brings the systemic bias in place. But hey, I'm gonna focus on reforms. That's all I want to talk about today. Some of the reforms that I really do think needs to be implemented. One, prosecutorial discretion reform, which is a recent workshop by the National Academies of Sciences, which highlighted the role of prosecutors in shaping criminal justice outcomes. Some jurisdictions are exploring declining to prosecute certain low-level offenses, which has been shown to reduce recidivism. Wow. I think that is those people who have been given like hefty sentences for things that should be given like minimum sentence. Not entirely, but sort of. So number 2 is sentencing overhaul. And number 3, diversion programs, which prosecutor-led diversion programs should aim to redirect individuals towards supportive services like therapy, education, and life skills training instead of criminal punishment. Training these people to deal in furnitures, welding, construction, tailoring, teaching. They could be public speakers. You know, there's just a lot of things that these people can do, and hey, just because someone is incarcerated doesn't mean that they do not have brains. These people can be meaningful people in the society later. Like, this is basically giving someone a second chance, especially for those who are doing light sentences. They can be good people in the society. Anyways, guys, this is a crazy topic. I don't know, what do you think? Do you support this take that there is a lot of systemic bias in terms of racial treatment in prison? What other reforms would you suggest? Let me know in the comment section down there below, and don't forget to also go and check the original creators of these videos that I've stitched. Their usernames have been embedded in the videos. Go follow, like, and also for this channel, subscribe, like, turn on post notification. Let me meet you in the next one. Peace out.